Hey everyone, I hope you are all doing very great. And uh, the session of this AR had been, done very nicely. And today we are doing our session 12 on School of AR. And the topic for today is going to be tracking a texture to the hands. And I hope it's going to be another insightful session for you all where you learn new concepts and you can apply it to make some realistic 3D AR effects. So without wasting any time, let me invite our mentor and the teacher for this AR workshop. Over to you, Naveen, sir.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you so much. A very good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to this week's first lecture. It's going to be, we're going to work with Hand Tracker. And in the last session, we did a lot of things with the Hand Tracker. We did a lot of hand calculations. We identified which hand is in action and which is not. We also identified the angle between the hands and which puts us in a situation where we can identify when there's one hand in the scene and do something, and we can identify when there are two hands in the scene and do something. So we can do that. So we'll try to put something in the middle of our hands and try to resize it, and maybe put a different texture on that. Can be transparent, and we'll do something like this today. Hi Shekhar, very good evening, Aman. Hello Chintan. Hi, Aman. Hi, Jessica. All right, welcome to the session. And well, let's wait for a couple of minutes. And meanwhile, if you have any questions, any doubts, go ahead with them. Um, Meanwhile, you type. All right, so I think today is the last date of the assignment. Today, midnight is the last date of the assignment number two, assignment number two. And I hope I've seen a lot of you have already submitted the assignments, and some of the works are really incredible. Like I really loved using them. It's given me immense pleasure. It gives me an immense pleasure to see that now we know how to put 3D objects into world space, and we can move we can move them. We can resize them. Some of you can also are able to collide them as well, which is really nice to detect collision with the 3D objects. So yeah, great job. Keep up the good work, and try to add additional detail as you can. If your project is already completed, you've already done all the checkpoints in the assignment, then spend some time to maybe optimize it. How what can you do better to make it outstanding? Make it outstanding from others. So yeah, go ahead. And meanwhile, we are taking some questions today. So go ahead and ask me questions if you have regarding the assignments, regarding any of the workshops, any question in general. You can just let me know. Okay. Could you brief about the catching the falling object game? Like what capabilities does it use, and how do I approach the same? Okay, Shaker. Falling object game. All right. I'm gonna share my screen with you. Okay, so I'm answering Shaker's question. Shaker wants to know what do we want to do with the falling object game. Although, yeah, let's go with it. So falling objects game is there are like couple of objects which are gonna fall from the top, and they're gonna reach to the end of the screen. So what is my goal is that I need some elements here at the top of my screen, and then I will change their position in the Y unless they reach at the bottom of the screen, because that's where they're going to be visible. So for an example, if I have a plane and if I have a bunch of plane like that, so these four planes, I'm going to have to scale them to 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. And I'm just going to keep the position by default at minus 0.5 because we just want to make them like, go start from the top. So this is where they're going to start. And what I need to do is I need to change their position one by one. So what I want to do is first of all play number one. So let's say if I have a loop animation to change the position of this guy when this goes to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is okay, in 3 seconds, go from a transition. Okay, this is a 3 vector. Display number 0 currently at 0.03 in Y. And what is the right position that it will be visible to me and then not visible when it's gone? So it's going to come into the screen and then it's going to go away, right? So I think if it reaches to minus maybe minus 0.3, I think I'm thorough. So plus 0.3 to minus 0.3 is what I want to do. And this is, if this is the position, then it's going to just keep running like that. So let's try to see. Okay, we don't want to change anything in X. Now you can see that this is actually falling from the top to the bottom. And hi, I'm sorry about that. All right, so okay, so this thing is falling all the time and coming at the bottom. And same thing you want to do for all of your planes. And what also you want to do is that when this completes, when this loop animation completes, I don't want this to always into the same position. I want to change its position from like left or right. So I can see that I just want to estimate what is the right position and what is not. So this is 0, 0. This is when X is 0. This is when X is minus 0.8, and this is when X is plus 0.8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this to that. I'm going to use a randomizer patch, a random number between minus 0.08 to positive 0.8. And this should happen every time the thing respawns, right? It respawns right here when the loop animation completes. And if that happens, then I'm going to pack this to a 3 vector where the 3 vector is, this is 0.3, and I also want this X should not be changed while it's traveling from top to the bottom, but it should be, a new X should be assigned, all right? So I'm going to use again one more pack, and this is to where am I going with it, like the bottom. So this is my new equation now, and now you can see that every time now this thing is coming sometimes this side and sometimes that side. So this is the plane, and so now Shekhar, understand this, that you have to do this, maybe create a logic whenever you're making falling object game. Create a logic where you have to identify into, like, let's say three different forms. Number one is spawning the items, because we are reusing those items when they pass to a certain distance, and then it goes back to top and then comes back. So this is respawning of the element. Any game design, any game you do, respawning is very important. The second thing is the collision that you want to check. So if there is some object which is, let's say, at this position, so we have to match then when both of their position is exactly the same, using some tolerance, you can use equals. If you use equals and you have to feed position number 1 and position number 2 to this, like for each x, y, and just x and y. If that is the same, you can put it always for like 0, 1. So maybe if it is like nearby, we will consider that as a collision. So we will mark that, we'll make it respawn again if that happens. Right, we'll make it go up. So this is the whole idea behind it. And the third thing that you need is score mechanism, that every time, so three things: spawning, collision, and third thing is score mechanism. That's all about any game. If it is falling, even if it's moving, all the game, they work around that. I hope, Shekhar, that's clear. Hi, Sarang. Soumya is saying that I wanted to ask whether when we will get our assignment 3 to start work on. We will get back to you on that, Soumya. I'm not really sure what was the date, but your assignments are ready, so we will let you know.
I've responded to that in the chat.
Okay, thank you. It was a little hard keeping the assignment effect in minimum size. It actually totally depends on what object are you using. You have to be careful about what objects are you using, and then the problem should be okay. Um, there are projects where you have to probably work with, let's say, maybe more than 10 objects. Then you have to worry about the size, and we know how to decrease the size of the mesh. If not, we will also cover that. Is it possible to have your email address? Sure, Bradley. My email address is you will get this soon. Okay, I'm gonna move to new question. There's a lot of problems with the world template. Yeah, maybe what kind of problem are you facing? If this is anything particular, then we can sort it out. We can suggest you some ways where it can be optimal for you. If there's a problem, let me know what kind of problem is there. Can we take input text from user? Is it currently available? I can see that option to the text. What you're referring, Sarang, is for like editable text. Editable text is, it works in a simulator, but it doesn't work on Instagram or Facebook. So if you use an editable text, then it's going to give you a capability problem that it's not supported at the moment. But you can, if you want to just experiment with it, you can obviously have it here. If I have a 2D text and I can make it editable, if I make it editable, I can just probably click on it and change it. But it doesn't work on capability support. Like it doesn't work on, if I, let's say, edit to my sharing experiences, is going to say that it's not supported. So it doesn't work editable text, I think. Yeah. So can we destroy a particle when it touches an object or something? Like if a particle touches the red line at the bottom, it vanishes. Well, of course, that's possible, but not exactly the way you're mentioning it to be. For example, like you're saying that what you want to do is detect when the particle actually touches the surface. That's not possible because the particles are like too many particles, and then the position and everything is like centered around something, and they follow from there to the end of their lifespan. They emit from a point, and they end when they reaches the lifespan is over, and they travel according to a speed. So possibly what you can do is you can just calculate that, like, okay, this is my length. So you can calculate what time and what speed you want to reach from, if particle is emitting from there, to reach to the red line. And when it reaches the red line, you can make sure that it doesn't go away from there. To make it more real, what you could do is you could use a opacity fade, that when the particle lifespan is about to get over, the particles start fading away. So that looks more real, that looks more in detail, and also you can implement what you're talking about. To do that, I think there's a resource. I mean, if we can't cover that, like, it's gonna take a lot of time. But maybe I can share some help with you guys. Please post this question on the community. So I'll give you a resource there on the Reskill community. I'll give you a resource there how to change the opacity, how to fade away the opacity of a particle when it's about to lifespan is about to get over. I wanted to ask whether we will get an assignment 3 start working on, because I have exams 24th, 30th. Soumya, I hope that's answered. Clear. All right. Any more questions before we go ahead? Anything, top of your head, let me know. Okay, so you have the link where we share our practice pad projects. So if you have that link, then you can go there and download the assets for our project for today. There's this hand tracking template sort of folder, and then you can download the entire folder. Jessica says, I want to replace a 3D object at a focal distance. Okay, so I can walk close to it, and audio it reacts, but it moves with the camera. So if I get closer, it moves away. Okay, I think then why this happens, why this would happen, let's figure out why would this happen. Is that, like, I have this setup, okay, and in this setup, if I put a 3D object, the 3D object is, let's say, this diamond of hearts, and so you want to put it somewhere and then walk through it. That means it needs to occupy a position in the world space. Is that correct? So to do that, we need to assign a position in the world space that can be a constant position, and our phone, our camera, can move around it. So to able to get a position into the world space, what we do is plane tracking. All right, that's what we do. Like, we tell our camera to identify a plane, a suitable plane. Once you identify the suitable plane, the next thing we do is we choose a position to spawn our 3D object there. So I'm going to delete everything from here, and this plane tracker, this heart has to go. All right, and I can see that already, that where the plane tracker is, the heart is centered right there. I'm gonna make it a little bit up so that it's, and I'm just gonna make it to 3 and 3 and 3. Also make it a little up, so when the plane is detected, the bottom of this is at the plane. If I keep it like this, then this might happen that half of the plane is actually down the surface. So it's good practice to keep it like this. And if I do that, right now there's no interaction. It's just gonna appear anywhere. There's no position for it. It's just gonna, it's like a plane tracker, which can be anywhere. So I need to assign that position to this. So I bring out this plane tracker into my patch editor, and I tell that if I screen tap, the screen tap should set the plane. It should set the plane, and the screen position should be the wherever I tap. Okay, so if I tap here, it's gonna set it like this. If I tap here, if I tap here, tap, 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 tap. But I don't want this to happen all the time. All right, I only want to make this happen once, just once. So to do that, I think you can use a loop animation like this and make it like maybe 0.01, like it. So right now in every 0.01, I'm trying to set a plane. I'm trying to set a tracker. Okay, like wherever it, I'm trying to set a plane. Okay, so now what's gonna happen is now it's not gonna move too much. Your object is not gonna move too much, and you're allowed to tap once. Okay, so when I do that screen tap, so right now I'm not okay. Still using the position. When this happens, when I do screen tap, this should disable this. Okay, so initially it's enabled, initially it's off, so initially it should be okay to find the set the position to the tracker. But if I screen tap, that is the point where post that I don't want any screen taps to register my position. Okay, so this is a new hack. Like you could do this way, although it's not very much recommendable, because unless you don't screen tap, it's gonna keep trying to keep trying to find a plane. It's keep trying to set that tracker. All right, so now if I refresh and if I tap, I see that now I cannot tap anymore now, because this is not enabled. This tracker will not executed now. It won't be executed now. So this is one hack to do this, although not a very recommendable way. So this is the option one to do this. Else you would need a script, because right now, or there's another way to do it quickly, is that since if you are developing a lot of games, then when you're respawning, you will need that pulse, which completes the animation. But you can't connect the pulse because, like, for an example, if this screen tap can go back to this again and disable it, it would solve my problem. But that's not practically possible, right? This is like, if this pulse, if I pass it again, it's gonna be like an endless loop, right? So there's another method called anti-loop method, anti-loop, because this is anti-loop pulse that we want to do that. So go to the AI library and find an anti-loop block. This is another way to do it if you don't want to use like a script. Or so you will find an anti-loop block somewhere. Yeah, this is for game anti-loop block. It's right here. So you can import this block. It's a very small block. Import it, and when you import it, now I can delete all these, and I have to instantiate. How to use a block is that you have to right click and click on instantiate. Once you do, it's going to be instantiated, and then you can see there's an input to the block. All right, so that input is my screen tap. Is that correct? My screen tap should, when I screen tap, I should tell this loop to know that, hey, next tap should not be working. So this is this pulse to the block. It goes. Then this is the consumer patch. We gave this block a pulse when we wanted to screen tap, and now we bring back this output, that pulse from the block. That means now we got the pulse back. Okay, so now I can use this pulse to make it disable. Okay, so I will use a switch again. Okay, and now initially it is off. So I want initially to be like my first, I want to tap once. So initially the tap should be working. So I am going to use a not here, so that it's going to be okay to do that. So this pulse has to go here, the screen tap. Now you see that I'll refresh the project. So initially the screen tap is enabled, but when I screen tap now, this pulse goes goes to the block, comes back, and disables the capability to screen tap. That means if I do screen tap now, it's not going to work. And you can easily move towards camera. You can see that this heart is moving when I'm trying to go into that direction. So now you can see that it's not moving with the camera. It's moving. It's not moving. Actually, it's static. The camera is moving now. So I hope these both methods are clear. Okay. All right, Jessica. I think that's going to help you to achieve what you mentioned. And yeah, I hope there are two ways we just discussed to solve your problem, and this is also very simple to use. I think this is more recommended than the last method because we don't want that loop animation to keep running. So this logic is also useful into the games, a lot of games, and it's very easy to do though. Like we don't need maybe go inside this. If you want to understand what's happening, go inside this, and you'll see that when you go inside it, there's a yeah, I think he has a method of using bounding box. Not really sure how is that implemented. Okay, they're simply using a delay patch to turn it off and then send it over. Okay. So interesting hack, interesting approach to do it. Maybe you can learn that as well, like what's happening inside it. Okay. Any more questions for the day? Okay. We didn't miss anything yet. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our projects where let's talk about the expectation from today's tutorial. This is me, and what I want to do is I want to this effect is does when one hand is detected, is start zooming to an extent, and a second hand detected, there's a rectangle comes in the middle of the hand, and it zooms a little bit, like it zooms a little bit more, and then it can be bigger and smaller, like this texture based on my movement of my hands. And I also see that there's this rectangle, this plane or rectangle in the middle of my hands. Whatever comes behind it has like a different gradient color printed on that. So we'll try to achieve this. I think most of this we also covered in the last session, so we're just going to build upon that. So you can open the unfinished project from the link that you have already. Do you have the link? Have you already opened the unfinished project for hand tracking? If you haven't, Varun, can we pass this link to the chat to everyone so that they can access the unfinished project? Okay, Varun here. Varun is going to just use this link to go visit this link and find a project, find a folder called hand tracking unfinished project, and download this project. It's probably version 139, so you need to have version 139 to work with it. And let me know when you're ready so we can start with the scene understanding, and then I'm going to give you like 2 more minutes to do that. I think it's a simple thing, just a simple project download from. And interesting. Praveen Saraswati, so sorry we missed your question. You wanted to know about camera texture. Okay, meanwhile, I'm just talking about camera texture. Please download the folder and let me know in the chat when you're ready so that we can start. Um, okay, Praveen, let's talk about camera texture. So this is a blank project right now. It's a blank setup. Um, this is what your phone sees if you have no filter at all. If you open Instagram and if you try to record a story without any filter, this is what the normal setup is. So this camera is looking at the scene and you're able to see it on a 2D screen. But right now there is no element into our scene, right? Okay. So this camera is this camera texture, this is camera texture. Whatever we are seeing here, this is camera texture. So I know this is camera texture, but how do we take this camera texture and apply it on something? Like let's say this is camera texture, okay, but what is that object which is holding this? Right now we don't have anything in our scene. So we have a we have a direct view of whatever my camera is looking at. So what I do is take a if I take a rectangle and I place over it, then what I'm doing is I got a scene. I got a scene object which was a rectangle, and that is overlaid now. That is the only thing which is in my scene hierarchy. So that means this is overlaid now. Okay. So this is what I see. My camera is still able to look through my camera, but I am not projecting that texture anymore onto my screen because my screen is having this rectangle. So it's a good idea to use that texture and project on something. So that is why we take this camera and extract the camera texture. Okay, we got that extraction. This is that camera texture now, and now we can assign this camera texture to this material. Now this is again the same setup. Only difference is the camera texture is being held by this rectangle. Okay, so now I can probably do something on this. I can change its color because now it's being held by by this camera texture. So this camera texture can be modified now because this is held by one of the scene object whose properties we can change. Properties being length, being width, being scale, being color, and all the color properties. So this is what camera texture is. Is that clear, Praveen? Okay, I hope that's understood. And all right, so everybody, you can, if you have already downloaded the project, then you can open the unfinished project. And once you open that, let me try to make you understand the scene understanding. Okay, like if you get a project, if you try to look at one of the old projects that you worked, like let's say 3 months old or 2 months old, and you open the project, it's not necessary that you remember everything. Okay, so what we should do is we should have a scene understanding, like how we are understanding the scene. So although we do this in every day's project, but look at my method, how I look at things. So I first look at the scene hierarchy, and I look at, okay, there's this camera, this focal distance. There are no lights in here. That means this filter is probably right now is not reactive to any 3D lights. So it's only 2D filter. Okay, that's what is making sure there are no lights. So okay, and in the focal distance, there's nothing in here. This canvas is also outside, so you can put it inside the focal distance. Okay, and inside the focal distance now. Okay, inside this focal distance, I have this rectangle. I've put a rectangle in the middle, and this rectangle has visibility is somewhere check is when the hand. So now we are going one by one. Okay, so we went to the scene hierarchy. We found there was a canvas, and then there was a rectangle, and the rectangle's visibility, its position, its scale, and its rotation is being held in the patch editor. So let's remove them. Let's remove everything, like let's try to not remove, let's go one by one. So this visibility is when this is a hand finder. Hand finder. Hand finder is going to give you the number of hands. Like if it is index number 0, then it's number 1 hand. And we discussed in the last one, like the hand bounding box gives you the 5 points. 1, 2. Okay, let me disable this guy first so that doesn't come. Number 1, like this, if this is the hand, then it's going to draw a rectangle over it. And this rectangle will give you that's 4 points. Number 1, top right, top left, bottom right, bottom left, and the center of this. And based on those points, we will do sort of calculations like where to put our texture, where to put our model or a 2D object as well. So if it is exactly number 2, then we will make that visible. All right. So right now we're understanding the scene, and in that understanding, we found out that okay, if there is only 1 hand, then this rectangle should not be visible. But if there are 2 hands, then this rectangle would be visible. Okay. So 1 and 2. All right. So you can see this exactly, this hand count. This is number 1 hand and now 2 hand. If this matches number 2, it's going to be true. That means it's gonna make this visible. All right, it's gonna make this rectangle visible. So that's okay that you're putting the rectangle in here, but the width of the rectangle is one by one. We set it by default 1 by 1, and okay, smaller, and then we scale it. So we scale it later based on the distance between the hands. All right. So sorry. Okay. Now this is the same. Number 1, hand number 1 goes to hand select. If it is index number 0, I'm going to pass that to my hand bounding box. That hand bounding box will give me 5 coordinates. Coordinate number where top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, and the center, and also the width and the height of the total width and the height of the rectangle. So for us, the useful information was the center, hand center. All right. So from the center, you can see that the center and this is also in the center. So this is where we are placing it. If we move it to somewhere else, like if you put it like that, then you can see that now it is going beyond my hand. All right, so I want this hand number 0 from the center. So you can see that. So this is nothing but this is just determining, okay, hand number 1, hand number 2. If it is hand number 1, then give me the center position. If it is hand number 2, then give me the center position. And if both of the hands are visible, if the total number of hands are 2, then make my rectangle visible. All right. Pretty easy until here. We got that scene understanding. And this is also, we remember from the last lecture that we took both the positions and we did some hand calculations and we did some angle calculations. All right. So that was pretty simple. Hand was if the position of this hand is greater than the position of this hand, then this is going to be my right hand and this is going to be my left hand. So this is how we determine the position of to which hand is it. After we determine that this is left or this is right, we calculate the angle by using our arc tangent, and simple, like we take the position of both the hands, subtract it, the difference, we get the difference, and we see that the difference is at what angle. So what angle is that making from this particular point? So pretty simple. We converted that to degrees from radians, and after that we just multiplied it by -1 because there was, I think we did discuss this last lectures. There's no point of repeating it. And then this was the angle that we're getting in the Z. So this is how it's working. All right. Now I have a better scene understanding. I understand, like, okay, what is there in the project? What is happening? I know that this is the main task of this guy, just to find hands, and there's nothing else. And main task of these guys is like rect between hands is to calculate the angle and also to see like what size of the rectangle should be. All right. So now let's do our tasks one by one. Now my task number one is to increase the angle of increase the size of the camera texture. So as the Praveen just asked a question about camera texture, and I think this is very good that we're here and we're going to use this in here now. So right now I can see myself, I can see the rectangle and everything. My project is working okay, but if I want to make myself bigger, I need to access that camera texture. Okay, so I need an object to hold this camera texture first. All right, if I don't hold this, I won't be able to make any operations on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new rectangle. Okay, make it go all the way into the X and all the way into the Y, because we want the camera texture to be held in the full screen. I'm going to call it rect camtex. And call it camtex. When I call it camtex, I'm also going to assign a material to it, and this material is going to be met camtex. All right, and this is a flat material. And now I need to pass a texture to this. So there are two ways to pass a texture. You can directly just assign a texture. So there's no texture here, but I want a camera texture. So I'm going to go to the camera and I'm going to extract that texture. All right. Once I extract the texture, it's going to be right here in the textures. It's down here. You may not be able to see this because of but it's down there in the texture as camera texture 0. So I can drag it into the patch editor. I can also assign it directly in here, but I'm going to drag it in here because I want to make some operations in here. So this is what it is right now. Now you can see that whatever the camera is looking at is there. Now in the background, in the viewport, you will be able to see that there's another, there's this, I know that my hand is moving, but there's this rectangle that I'm not able to see. Is because that my camera texture is rendered first. So whatever is happening with the rectangle is in the back of my camera texture. So to fix this, it is very simple. Just put this render order just up. So first camera texture and then this rectangle. All right, that's all. Now what I want to do is whenever my first hand is detected. So how do I know my first hand is there? There are two information that I get. Information number one, when there is one hand, this count becomes 1. All right, this becomes 1. Another information that I have, when this comes, it comes as a track is tracked. Okay, because this was index number 0, and it comes as this track becomes enabled. Okay, so this is also I can use. So I can use this pulse, and I can say that it gave me an animation whenever this is tracked on, then make some sort of transition to make this bigger. All right, to make the camera texture bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play an animation, and when this is off, then reverse that. Like if hand is out of the way, then go back to the original position. That's what I want. So I want to have a transition. This transition is going to give me a vector 2 because that's what our X and Y's are. So initially I'm going to be at 1, and then I have to change this number to a new X number. But what is it that we are changing? So this is our camera texture right now. This is what we want to modify. This is what we want to transform. So when we say we want to transform, so we have to bring this patch called texture transform into the patch editor. When you bring the texture transform into the patch editor, right now the transform number is 1. So it's going to be same as it is. Okay. But now I'm going to change the scale of this transform. Okay. So to do that, what I have to do is, why am I so bigger? Okay. So I'm going to use a 2D transform pack. 2D transform pack is like basically all the transformation in 2D, possible rotation, possible translations, possible scales, and rotation. And the pivot point is just like from where do you want to like apply everything to that uh, object. So right now we go like, okay, 0.5, that will like I'm right in the center from it. So if there's a scale like by 0.1, then everything's going to scale up from the center perspective. All right. So the scale is something that I want to change. This is my transform, and this scale is what I want to change. So initially it has to be 1, and then I'm going to go to 1.3 and 1.3. So this is what should happen when it comes. You see that when it goes away, it goes like, you look at the scale, okay? When this hand comes, this is getting bigger because of this transformation. Sorry. All right. So now we know that this is working. This is working, and when I go back, it's also working. So what I want to do is, again, this is a little bit like this process has to be like a smooth process. So what you can do is you can add an exponential smoothing just before the scale. So you can drag it a little bit on the side, and you can say that, okay, unpack this guy, because exponential smoothing, we can only apply one vector at a time. So now we're going to do this exponential smoothing by 200, and I'm going to apply this to number y as well, and x and y, and then I'm going to pack it to a vector 2. And just give that scale to it. So now it's going to be smooth. Now this transition is going to be smooth, right? It's going to be smoothened by 200 damping. Okay. So this is all it is. This is the main logic to do that. Also, yeah, this is the main thing. This is taking 1 second. If you want it faster, maybe 0.5. This is going to be a little faster. Maybe 0.1. This is going to be super fast. You know, like maybe we'll keep it to 1. Is there any question so far by understanding this camera texture and how we're using this 2D transform pack? It's a very important patch. These two patches together are the most important patches in the, I think, when you're working with anything, because we modify the UVs, we modify the textures, we create distortions and noise movements. These two patches are everywhere. They're like, you know, they're like cockroaches. They're present everywhere. So these patches are very important as well. Unlike cockroaches, they're not important, but these are very, very much important. I'm going to go through some questions if there are any, and then meanwhile, if you understand this, that's okay. If you have any questions, let me know. Your main webcam output is a bit zoomed in it. I can see you face, but not hand gestures. Yeah, I know. I think I'm not sure why is that happening. This is a problem that was there a few years ago, but now it's again. So okay. So is it possible to attach? If you want to look at the hand gestures, possibly look here. Okay. Is it possible to attach a light source to the rectangle object so that if we're using Mandelic face mesh, it will reflect the light produced by the rectangle? No, it doesn't work that way. Reflection doesn't work that way. Is it possible to attach a light source to the rectangle object? Light source attached to a rectangle object? No, that doesn't make sense. But you can attach a light source in your project, and that light source can affect your scene objects. If they are reflective, then it will reflect. If they are not reflective, then it would not. If they're shiny, then the light will shine back. So it's possible, of course, but not to attach to an object. You can use a light source, any light source that you want, and then reflect on your physically based material. Simple to do that. Like, this is your light. We don't have any lights in this project, but so you can add some light sources. Like there are spotlight, there's point light, there's directional light, and there's ambient light. So any of these lights you can use to cast rays of light on the 3D object or a physically based material, to be honest. Okay, no questions in this. That means it's good. All right, now look at this quad gradient patch. Squad gradient patch is a patch from the library, and we'll quickly go through what it does. There are like 4 colors into this, and we can pass 4 colors into this, and then these 4 colors are being mixed based on the size of the rectangle that it's gonna assign from so everything is from 0 to 1. Like we go from here to here, that's 0 to 1. We come from here to here, it's also 0 to 1. So what we do is here that we take the upper left color and the lower left color. Okay, so consider this example. All right, this is my upper left and this is my lower left. Okay, then I'm using my y to I change that. So my y is 0 here at this point, but it's gonna be higher in here, and it's gonna be higher, like it's gonna be maximum in here. So this mix, this alpha this also goes from 0 to 1. This alpha also goes from 0 to 1. When this would be 0, it's going to be mostly the upper left color, and when it's going to be 1, it's going to be mostly the bottom left color. So similarly it does for the upper right and the bottom right. And then the outputs we mix when we mix it in the x direction. So we distribute those colors like, okay, vertically you have already aligned them, and then from 0 to 1 we mix them. So maybe doesn't make sense with words, but let's try to see what is it giving us. So we use shader render pass and just look at the output of this guy. So you can see that this is my upper left and this is my lower left. This is upper left and lower left, and we mixed this from 0 to 1, right? So when this was 0, then this color would be 100%. But when this will go on the upper side, this color will take place. When this is exactly 1, then it's going to be this color. Similarly, upper right, when it is exactly 0, this is going to be the same color. When this is exactly 1, it's going to be the full yellow, all right? Then what we did was we did another mix. Okay, and we took that color and we did another mix that, okay, color number, the left colors and the right colors. So we mixed them also. So when this is exactly 0 here and this is exactly 1 here, this is the mixture of all the colors in the center. Like they're going from left to the right, like 0 to 1, so 0 to the 1. All right, so that's how this has been made. So you can use, I also introduced one more method to you guys to do this, the same thing, is that you can use a gradient. All right, and then you can also use a gradient step. And then you can use couple of gradient steps to, like, okay, 0 to 0.5, I want one color, and then 0.25 to 0.5 I want another color, then 0.5 to 0.75 I want another color. So this is start and end rays, and you can use couple of these in combination to achieve the same result. But this is a very, very good and smart way to do this. Like, it's very smart way to do it. I think we are using the X and Y coordinates to change the colors. So I think it's pretty smart way. So I think let's use this one and let's see how this goes. So my rectangle between my hands is my rectangle. This is the object. This is the material to it. So I'm gonna bring back this material to in here directly, and I can see that this rectangle is now have those colors on the corners, and the bottom is a mix, and the corners are the colors are most bright. when as soon as they go away from the corners, the colors are fading away, and then in the center we have like a good mix of all those four colors. Now I'm gonna reduce its opacity to about 50%, so I can see that myself from this, and I'm gonna make the blend mode to add so that the bottom, the behind of that color is being overlaid. So now we can see that now it's being changing the, like, whatever the color is at this point. So it's gonna overlay on myself. So now I can see that now I can kind of like put a reflection or put like a mirror. So this is like a, I don't know, maybe a colored glass in your hands, which is you're looking through that. So good effect. Okay, so I got this fixed. I got this fixed. The only thing is that I want to zoom it again. When the both hands are there, I want more zoom into the system. That means, where do I go for that? Is that like whenever there are two hands, whenever there are exactly two hands, then I want more zoom. Okay, so when this condition is true, so I'm gonna create a sender for this, and I'm gonna say that active underscore two hands. This is my variable. Very much this says that, okay, when the two hands are active, this is going to be true. So I'm going to make a receiver for this, and I'm going to use this receiver in the upper section of the project. And just to make some space here, I'm going to just push it a little bit up. So this was our earlier logic. Whenever there was hand number one was detected, we were making some animations, and that was to increase the size of the camera texture. All right, now we want to increase size to more. Like earlier we were going until 1.13, sorry, 1.3. Now we want to change that to a larger number. So I'm going to use it if then else. Okay, this is a vector2, and I'm going to say that if this condition is true, if this is true, then they go to 1.6. All right. If it is not true, then 1.3 is okay. So if that is the case, then I'm gonna keep it here. Okay. And since our we have like a smoothing factor already here, so whenever it shifts from 1.3 to 1.6, it's gonna have that smoothing effect to us. You know, like you see that that smoothing effect. So now there are two zooms: zoom number one, zoom number two, and there's the texture in my hands. Is there any doubt? Is there any questions in this setup? Do we understand the capability? How are we making sense of the scene objects and putting them between our hands? And so, do we understand this already? Let me know if you have any questions. We're actually done with the concepts, so we can take some questions now. Okay, I think I fixed my camera. At least. No more questions? Do we understand everything? That's so nice. Although it's nothing so hard about it. Everything is pretty good. I think very simple concepts in here. The things that we're doing. Yeah, go ahead, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead. Keep talking. Share something. Meanwhile, if you don't have anything to share, I have something to share. I can share something that's something that I'm working on for the competition, and I think everybody's working as well. So but I'm gonna share something that I was working on. So probably meanwhile you can write your questions. Remember there was this project I mentioned about, like I'm gonna make some pipe and make some water coming out of that pipe, and then so that this is what I made. I made this pipe. This pipe I did not make. I make the water and this water puddle at the bottom, and this is just some particle emitters which are working on that. And if you see, the total project size is 1.4 MB, and this is not much. This is reflective. Uh, I still have to work on this. There's a lot to work on this project. I hope I'll be able to finish it soon. You don't see anything in here because this is like a depth effect. So the depth is not supported by the simulator, so there's nothing visible in here. But when you put this into like a part of a plane tracker, so this plane tracker is situated, like this entire setup is situated inside the scene, and then the water comes out, and if it is blocked by something, the water only is seen where it's not blocked. So, but I'm gonna make more advancement to it by just like something, if it gives you some sort of inspirations for your projects. Um, so I thought I wanted to share that. Uh, how did I make it? Is I use lot of noises. So those noises are this fluid, this noise, which is giving me the the normal this details, these details you see, that sort of folds of water as I'm getting from this noise. And this another noise, this liquid noise. I'm not using the liquid. I'm using this Voronoi nodes. These Voronoi nodes are creating this. You see those dots are coming in, and these dots are also coming in from the pipe as well. But because of the pipe has a different UV, and this water puddle has a different UV, so that is why like this is stretched and this is not stretched. And also this is stretching makes sense because this is liquid, and um, also coming from like a water funnel. So I hope there's nothing else. There's some details, is the particles. I think a lot of distortion that I have to do, but yeah. So I created a patch called like, I'm using that patch to like noise movement, and there's another patch is called um, this is one is normal movement, and this one another is like the noise movement. I can adjust the speed, and I can do this. So I make like a control unit like this. So I don't have to go inside everything. So I can just do things from here. I can make it like a 200 by 1. I can make it like to go like the water like this, and I could make it to go like maybe a little differently, maybe make it like this as well. So I could play with these things the way I want, because of the I set up the sender and receivers. So for now, I'm gonna just make it. Yeah, so this was something that I've been working on. Then you can increase the speed, of course, like the how much you want, how fast is the water, how slow is the water. So okay, can we place a 3D object between those hands? Oh yeah, we were doing that last time as well, right? So yeah, you can place a 3D object, but you have to do some calculations to convert those um, the focal position. You know what? One way to do this, since it is the scale, so whatever it holds is going to be increased. So let's try to put a 3D object. Let's try to put a 3D object in a way that we think is right. So I'm gonna go. Oh, we already have. No, we don't have. We have a hearts diamond. Where's that diamond? Okay, heart primitive. So let's try to put this this 3D object's heart to the middle of the hands. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a. It's one and the same thing. If you use a sphere and a heart, it's one and the same thing. So I'm gonna use a heart for now. So let's say this is the rectangle between hands. So this is gonna hold my heart. So what I want to do is I want to fix the project into a custom render pipeline first. So that my 2D objects, my 2D scene objects can hold a 3D object as a texture. Okay. So we did this previously when we were working with particle systems and we wanted a 3D chair to be a particle. So we could do that here as well. So what I'm going to do is I want to have a null object which holds this this 3D object. So this 3D object is here, and I can see that 3D object, and this is let's say we're gonna call it 3D. So this 3D, I'm gonna just this 3D I'm gonna separately use in a render pipeline. So this is the scene object, and then I can see that this just gives me the heart as an object. So I'm gonna make it like a transparent, and now this this rectangle has a texture. The texture is given by this thing here. So what I'm going to do is instead of giving this texture from this quad patch, I'm going to assign this texture to this the hands between the thing. Okay. So if I do that, if I probably have to use a shader underpass between, and then I can see that the 3D object is in the middle, but it's not exactly the way we want it. And also that this is visible. So we need to change our pipeline a little. So to do that, I have to use a custom pipeline. So this is what the canvas, what I want to render is my user and my hands and the object in the between them. So this is my pipeline, to be honest, scene render pass. I'm passing both the canvases. So you can see that canvas is visible in this. Excuse me. So this is, and I'm gonna use the devices rendered output, and that's what it is. That's what the entire output is now. So I don't see that 3D object anymore because it's not the part of my hierarchy now, because only thing that I'm rendering is the canvas. There's nothing else. So what I want to do is okay. So this is the material between for the rectangle. So I'm gonna put the opacity to 100 and also put it to alpha now. And this seems a bit stretched to me. That means we have to make sure of its because we are expecting it to be like a square, but it's becoming like a like stretched texture. So what we can do first, I need to make it like a shader underpass and use this to change this texture. Yeah, this is where we want to change it. So this texture is stretching a bit. So I'm going to use a texture transform. This is the same technique that we do with the other methods. So this is how we can do this. And then I'm going to use a 2D transform pack. Again, this is so useful. Everywhere we go, we find this patch. So for this, we want to have a ratio of our device. So we won't have the ratio of device. So we go to a device, we bring it back, and this is my size. If I divide it, I get the resolution. So this is my practice. Every time I open a project, I do this first. This is the first thing I do, and I like to do every time manually. I have never like created a patch. I created a patch, but I'd like to do this manually. But it gives me that warm up, like when to start the project. So I'm gonna use unpack here, 2 vector 2, and this unpack is going to give me the ratio of how big and small this is. So I'm going to divide this by this, and then it should be like a sender, and this is my aspect ratio that I can use here. We can make some space to a project. This is sort of, we're not going to use it again, so just going to keep it. So this aspect ratio is, if my x is 1, so I have to pack it. If my x is 1, then my y should be half of it. This is the ratio that we have decided. And we're going to multiply this to make it bigger or smaller. And then that's going to be my scale. And that's going to be go to my transform. So I can now see that this is even worse. I don't think we need to transform this, because what we have taken is 1, 1 in the rectangle is 1, 1. Oh, so if it is 1, 1, then it is always be square. So we don't really need this, but good to get it ready. And I think we can just make it bigger or smaller. So this 3D object is my heart, so maybe I can make it like 5 times bigger. So now it comes to my hands. So 3D object is coming into my hands, but remember, like, okay, this is a 3D object. Now we're rotating and everything, but this is not the actual 3D object. This is a rendered image of a 3D object. Okay, so to make the 3D object dance between your hands, you probably have to like convert the position. There has to be conversion from focal coordinates to screen coordinates. So I hope this is clear. There's this way to do it. There are a couple of steps into this. The first step was that I know that what I'm rendering, I'm rendering my canvas directly to my device. All right, this is my main render line setup. Then what I did that the second rectangle out of these, the texture is I'm getting from this. Okay, so I got that render pipeline separately, and I diffuse that texture to my rectangle. So my 3D object's texture is this now. Okay. Let's save that calculation for some other day for conversion from focal to screen coordinates. We will do that. Actually, one day we'll just do the conversions only. So yeah, we'll take probably the same example. Is there a way to detect finger gestures? No, Propane. You can't detect the finger gestures yet, but it will be soon in SparkR. So where to create 3D models? You want to create 3D models. There is this program called Blender. it's open source, and this is where I created my water pump like this. Um, if you see, this is the water pump that I created. So you can also use this. It's very simple to create, by the way. What I did was I created a normal cylinder until here. Then I subdivided it to a couple of like these edge loops, like from 5, and I created more and more and more and more and more. Let's try to open a blank project. So 3D, to create 3D objects, you go open Blender, and there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube how to use Blender. So you have to, again, I would emphasize on that, you have to just need to know basis, like how much you have to know is how much you need to know. Okay, if you want to go ahead with the 3D learning, is you can go ahead and learn, become a master. But we are learning a program, Spark Studio, for now. So the Blender knowledge is okay to have, like, need to know basis. So like you can start working with there are like a lot of modifiers. The viewport is quite similar to Spark. Like every 3D tool has like a similar viewports, XYZ axes, and there are like a couple of different meshes in here. You can do some sort of calculations on these. Yeah, go through a lot of tutorials in YouTube, and you'll learn this very quickly. What inspires you for for the hackathon? The inspiration is actually I was learning something. I keep learning, and I was learning to make this water and waterfall, and like so this is very easy to achieve in Unity, but in Spark it's like we don't have we have to convert few things before making it work. So I was just trying to learn that technique, from acquiring things from Unity, and then try to work it with it in Spark. And since while I was learning it, that's where the idea came. Like I was also learning depth, and so why not create a water pump which can just populate water inside your room, and like your room can be flooded with water, or a liquid for that matter, like some sort of liquid. So every day the idea is changing now. Initially it was water, and now it's some sort of liquid, and there are some sort of potions into it. I'm not sure like where this is going to end, but this is going to end for sure. So I'm gonna submit this. I still have 5 more days to submit this, I guess. How can we add two producer patch object for the same object? You can't do that. So this is the patch. Sorry. This is the scene object, and the scene object is creating this producer patch. If you want to use this somewhere else, you need to you can't create a sender to it. You can't do anything. You have to like just drag the way you do for other things. Thanks, Jessica. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was on mute. So thanks for pointing that out. Well, if you have any more questions, anything else, let me know. One thing that is due is to convert these coordinate systems. So maybe tomorrow we'll spend some time to just convert these coordinates from one space to another space, and then we'll do that. Okay, I think I am done with the with this one. And do you guys have any problems in like if your projects are getting rejected because of the capability problem, or like any issues that you're facing? Feel free to let me know if you want to talk about it. Okay, sure. Shekhar wants to know that. So my question is not technical, but I want to know that your journey and what intrigued me to become a Sparker creator, or how did I land a job into this? Okay, sure. If that helps, I think it would for sure. I think maybe I would not. I would like to know everybody's story as well, because that could be inspiring from where you start. And I, I was a software engineer earlier. I worked for different sort of corporate jobs, and then I did that for 5 years. And after that, I was not really happy in my job. Not happy is, and I was not getting enough exposure, and I thought that my knowledge could be could be used somewhere else. I'm not utilizing my job is not utilizing my knowledge, so it was not exciting for me every day to work there. So I left my job, and I came across SparkAR into a hackathon. I found it in a hackathon where people were just coding for like 48 hours, and then I also participated. And we were coding for 48 hours, and yeah, I liked it there. So after that, I started. I came back home, and I got to know that there was this filters you can make on this tool. So I started researching on this. I went to the documentation, and there was like a lot of YouTube videos out there to make you explain of like making simple filters. So I followed all the tutorials. Even some tutorials were in Portuguese with no subtitles. I still watched, like what does this have to say? What is this method that this guy is using? So why not, like, what are the drawbacks of it? Is it a good method? So I watched everything. I think I watched all the tutorials were there on the platform, on the YouTube. I did not leave anything behind. I watched everything. I was trying almost everything. This took me about a month. In about a month, I was able to create my, like, publish first filter. And then I did, and I had my first client within 35 days, I think 35 days, which paid me a little less, but still there was a start. And that's where I started. And after that, one client came, and other client came, and then there was like many clients after a while. And it was not easy to score clients at the start, because they I was sending out cold emails. I was talking to, a lot of I was trying to explain ideas to brands, like, okay, this is what could be done for you. So in those talks, sometimes there were disappointments, sometimes they were like a conversion. Okay, let's go with this. So there was like high hopes, low hopes, and everything. So it was like a 360-degree development, I think, for me, since when I started and until today and now. Like, I got good at communication. I got good at talking to people. I learned how to pitch to the clients, because initially I did not know really. I was just like sending out like, "Hey, can we do this for you?" But now I realize, okay, if you give them information, like this is what could be done, like a prototype of like a storyboard. If you present your ideas with a storyboard, there are higher chances of conversion. There are higher chances of the client would, it would make sense to the client. So in that journey, I think a lot of learnings were there. So um, yeah, I think that's the journey. Is the what intrigued me is the curiosity to do something better, to do something which is right now active. So I'm doing this for a while now, and I think I'm going to do this for some time right now. I like it. I like making filters. I like working on Spark here. I like talking to you guys. I like teaching about it also. I think I learned from the community a lot, so I'm just want to give back. Yeah, that's it. In the last assignment, I had issues with 3D models. What is your issue, Christy? If you can let us know, we can address it here. Let us know what's anything in particular that you faced, so we can check it. I think if you have no questions, then I can teach you something new today. If you have any questions, then let me know. Will address them. So let me try to. Thanks, Aman. Thanks, Shekhar. So let's try to create. Let's try to create glow. Glow. Like something is glowing around something. So glow is very important detail. I think everybody is adding glow all the time. I also have some glow in that project. Um, if you see this project, you'll see that there's a lot of glow that you can see. This glow in here. There's also glow in these particles. There's this glow. This is also a glow. This glow is there's a method to create this glow, and then you can also create this. So let's try to create that glow. Let's try to understand how to create that. So we would need a blur patch. We need a blur patch to make the glow. So even the Gaussian blur is okay, even this blur is okay. So this blur, we can import it. Remember, blur is like a lot of calculations. So it has like a limitation, like you shouldn't use like too much. If you use too much of blur, then that's gonna make everything super bad, like super laggy as well. So to make the glow, I'm just gonna use the diamond again, the hard primitive, and this primitive is going to be part of the focal distance, and I'm going to take this back in here and give it to like a scene object. So I just want to access this hard texture, and this is how it looks. And I'm gonna just texture this guy. Now the error goes away. This blur patch gives an error. I don't know, some sort of. So now whatever glow we create, the glow is not so detailed texture, right? The glow is like a flat thing which is just some light, throwing some light. Okay, so it needs not to be detailed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a not so detailed copy of this heart. So first of all, make it like a 3 times bigger, and I'm going to create a not so high quality copy of this because I don't need the details. So I'm going to create a shader end of us. Actually, let's just go with the same one now, and then we'll change it later. So this is my shader that I created, and this texture I'm passing it here. Then I'm going to copy this and also copy this and paste it again, and pass this after applying the blur. I'm going to pass it again, and then I'm going to apply the blur again, and then I'm going to see that how is this looking now. Do you see any difference from these 4 values. Okay, so I'm gonna increase the blur more. Now you see that this is quite clear, but this is like a little hazy. Okay, and I'm gonna increase this blur again, and this, you can see this is even hazier, right? This is even hazier. So now, since so this is hazier, like so we're able to create that blurriness. What I'm gonna do is now maybe make this like 0.5, because we don't need full full render. So we can, this is like, if this is 1:1, that you're taking the exact quality of the pixel of the rendering. If I go like 0.5 and 0.5, then I'm going to actually degrade its quality. So when you degrade the quality when creating the blur, it's actually a good thing. If you do that here as well, then you will see that this is going to degrade it more and more. So this is like super hazy right now. All right. So this is the blur that we got. This is just the blur. And now what I'm going to do is, so remember, this is my original texture. Yeah. But this is a texture that I'm processing, like, to create that blur. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to blend them together. So I'm going to blend these both together. This you can put maybe at the bottom, and this is at the top. And this is my and this texture has to go to the maybe create a rectangle. Okay. Now we just want this rectangle to be visible in our scene pipeline. So I'm just gonna do that. And that's my render pass. Cool. So if you see this thing, it's pretty glowy. Yeah. So if I use this add in here, then you can see that this is like a lot of blurriness here. But I think we will need more blur and different size of this also. So I can multiply this by some number. And if I do that, and then if I do destination, I can give it like 3 or let's say 5 and put it on normal. And then you can see there's this outline in the back of this heart now. If you can see that there's this outline in the back of the heart. This is the glow that we wanted. This is the glow that we have. So if you increase it more, like 10, then you can see this is more and more in the back. You can also like use like 1.5 or maybe 3 or maybe 5. Can also increase the size of this. So how do I do that? We have to use the 2D texture. If I use a 2D texture, 2D transform pack with a transform texture transform, then this is my transform, this is my texture, and after modification, this is my new texture. And I can scale it up a little like this. And you can do certain operations with it. And also there are a couple of blend modes that you can use, like different blend modes, like overlay as well, normal, add, gives like a similar output, difference, subtract. For now, we just keep it to the normal. And I think if I use a step in here, smooth step. I think I can control this boundaries, maybe. Let's try. So yeah, we could control its boundaries a little, and not so useful. Just gonna use this. So this is to create the glow. This is how you create the glow. Basically, what it is that I use the original texture. Then I take the texture, and if you wanna like create like a super bad glow, then you can also go like 0.125, 0.125, 0.125, and then you can see that the pixels are, you can see now pixels are there, right? Like it's pixelated now. So maybe 0.25, 0.25 is better. Also make it 0.25, 0.25. Also make it 0.25 and 0.25. Yeah, and maybe go to like 3 number. So this is how you create the glow. Glow to something, and that's, yeah, it could be like a good detail that you can do. Simple steps, bring out the object, its texture, and then take the same texture and apply some modifications, like just blur it out, and then blur it out so much that it becomes like its details becomes hazy a little, and after that just blend it to the original texture and give it to the, like, wherever you are rendering it. So that's the glow setup for you. So you can create the glow. Also, like how to make it like a little bit crazy. Just make it a little bit crazy. So now this is my new texture. This is this texture has the glow at the bottom, and the top is the original texture. So what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna just do some make it like a little crazy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a delay frame. Let's use a delay frame here. This is something that you haven't used a lot. So this delay frame always accepts a render pass. So we give a shader render pass, give this delay here, and also the first texture like this. And this is something we're not changing it for now. And we have to create a receiver to this and bring it back. So nothing we have changed, nothing so far. This same thing, it's the same thing. Now we want to change this texture to get it from here. But it's still the same thing. There's nothing changed so far. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change some things now. I'm going to use this delay frame as a mix. And so I'm going to pass this frame back to this so that it keeps making some sort of changes frame by frame again and again. So for that, I just I'm going to pass this now to this. Now you can see there's nothing visible here because all you have is delay frame, and delay frame has nothing. Like, this has to be something. So this is like, if I put it to 0.5, then you can see that both the things are visible. If I put it to 1, then the delay frame is not visible at all. So this is 100% of this one. And if I put the alpha to this, then you will see that if I make any movement to heart, if I make any movement to the heart, you will see that it kind of leaves its copy. You can see that it kind of leaves its copy as itself. Do you see that it kind of leaves its copy to itself? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh the project. I'm going to make a little movement to the heart. So to make that movement to the heart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a loop animation. And this loop animation should give me a transition. The transition should make this move from from 0.07 to minus 0.07. Okay, and this has to be 0, and this has to be 0 as well. And this is the position of the null object of the heart, not the null object. Why? Okay, so what it's gonna do is gonna just move it like from top to the bottom, and in like a sinusoidal manner, and take like full 3 seconds, easily, very easily. Okay, so I'm just moving the heart. Okay, I'm here right now, and since what I'm doing is that my alpha is always the my original texture. This is my original texture with the glow. Okay, and if my alpha becomes that every time for every frame, then what it's going to do is going to leave a copy of itself. Yeah? So I'm going to move this now, and then you can see that the glow is also moving with it. You go up, the glow is little up, and then it comes down, the glow goes down. Like, so it's like a it's like a additional detail now to our project. So I'm going to put it to 0.5. If I put it to 0.5, both the things, if I put it to delay frame now, it's like this, then it's just gonna show me the delay frame where there are the changes. It's almost like how we did the personal segmentation, and there was a movement, so we were kind of like a frame difference, right? So this is the frame difference that you're gonna see if you put the alpha to delay frame. But if I put it to 0.01, that means that I all I want is maybe close to what my delay frame is looking at. So I can see some sort of motion blur already. Like I can see there's some sort of blur is happening. Some sort of, it's almost like a ghost moving up and down is like, So that's an additional detail that to our project right now, and it looks better. It looks awesome. We could do this to all kind of subjects, and maybe not care about being it black. And this black color is coming from, let's find it out. Where are you coming from, black color? This is where it's coming from. So maybe make it like a white transparent, white transparence. So that also will make sense. Okay, that was the blur for you. You could add more delay frames. You could create more things. Let's try to create something better than this. So now what you want to do is we want to change its scale. We want to make it like bigger with time, with every frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform the texture. So the texture transform is I'm going to use, and the change transform I'm going to apply to my shader, and then I'm going to use a 2D transform pack. And right now it's by default. How is it? Now I'm going to give a little bit of change in the X. I'm going to make it 1.01. When I make it 1.01, after the passing it this, the position is 0.01. If I now you can see that this additional bigger heart I can see after, like when it's coming down, I can see there's like a bigger glow as it's leaving behind, right? So I can make it like 1.05. It's going to be like bigger. Like it's almost like it's behind it. So this is something I could do as well. I could also do this to Y as well. So it's going to be like both sides, So that heart has like a super nice details right now. I can make it to translate into X, so maybe 0.1. Now you'll see that it is actually going all the things into X direction. So maybe 0.01, because that's too much. And don't want to change the scale of it, but just want to go like, okay, like let's say the wind is towards the right. So that's how it's going to look. And we could also do this into y as well. So this is like, if you do this x and y, then it's going to be, if you do positive x and y, then it's going to be, this is positive x and this is positive y. It's going to go down. So maybe make the y negative. It's going to go up. And if you don't give the x, it's just going to go up. It's just going to go up. It's not going to come down. Like the glow, we're talking about the glow now. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. If you give it a rotation by even a slightest, like 1 degree rotation, it's going to start rotating, and like we will do that the full degree in some time. So these are some things that you can work with. Maybe try to learn something out of these. Maybe some details that you can add to your project, and maybe you can add more. Can add some distortions maybe in here, because whatever goes to the delay frame. Now like the first frame went here, then it came back, okay, and it came back. Then we mixed it. We're using mostly the delay frame, and then we're using the transform and we scaling it up by 0.1, like a very small percentage. When we scaled it up, we fed it back to the delay frame. So it's going to be larger than the previous one. Then it's going to go back. Then it's going to come back. Then it's going to be larger than the previous one. So it's going to keep increasing, increasing, increasing. By the time, and it will be like so big that we can't even see it. For example, if you make it like a 1.1, then you can see that how big it's going to get. It's going to getting bigger, 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 and bigger. Yeah, so pretty good, looks pretty good to me. It's like center of it and looks pretty good. You could also multiply with some color. Where would you do that? If you have to multiply it with a color, then maybe the glow can be the color. You can multiply with the color with the glow. So maybe I'll multiply it here with the color, and that I will pass it here. This color can be faded yellow, So now you have like a, because we are multiplying only the glow, not the original object. So it's gonna add that detail as well. Maybe use it like this color, and then we can control this to maybe 0.3. So you see more color. To 0.5, we'll see more and more color. If you just use this, then you'll see color and color like that. So yeah, this is something that you can work with to create something nice and beautiful. Yeah, this one is pretty good. 0.3 is pretty good. And maybe if you multiply it later, let's say multiply by 5, and then you'll see that the color is like pretty awesome, and the details as well. Now you've done this pretty great job with the glow and with increasing the scale of the delay frame. The next thing that you want to do probably is change the material a bit. Material of the heart a bit. So heart's material, like we're working with the heart's material. It's physically based, so we can make it like a little shinier, like make it a lot shinier than earlier. And you don't have to, and then I can use emission as well, and also the environment texture could have like a little rotation to make it look a little nicer. And you could play with the opacity a bit. Every small little change will go through the delay frame and will give you like a great output. So all you have to do is like keep try to play with like a small details of the delay frame, or like what can we do now? Let's be quirky, and then like just try to add something. May give you something, may not give you something, but the journey is gonna like definitely teach you something. Like maybe some errors, it's gonna give you some errors. Then next time it won't happen because you understand it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna just put it to 99%, 96%, 98%. Okay, and if I make fully rough, this doesn't make sense. I'm gonna make it metallic, and this is the normal. The normal is like a very great, a great detail that adds. So for emission, I'm gonna make it super white, and if I give the emission texture as the same texture, so now like you can add some sort of noise texture to this normal and this, and you can add pretty good details to this. But for that, like, yeah, some more patches. All you need is like few more patches to create a normal. So let's create a normal patch. How to create normal patch? You can go to the patch library, and then like there are a couple of normal. We also went through this in our previous lectures. I'm trying to find a normal patch, and it's taking a little time because of internet issues. Normal, sir, normal. So texture to the normal, then you can create a texture and then first create a texture and then create a normal. Or you can create a height map and then create a normal. So let's create a height map and let's create a normal. Because first one we already did and the second one we did not do it yet so far. So what I want to change is the normal of this guy. So I'm going to use the texture for this normal. I'm also going to use some other textures like the cells one, maybe. This is the texture for the noise, and I'm just gonna put it to none and none and none. Bring it on, and so this is my noise, and this noise has to be moving. I want to move this noise into some sort of manner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a vertex transform vertex attribute. Guys, if you have any questions, just write it down because we are about to close the session, and I'm just utilizing the time to give you some additional information that you can use for your hackathons, competitions, and assignments. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions if you have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a local coordinate. So I'm going to change the texture based on the UV coordinates. That means right now I have is the cells, okay, and these cells I want to make them move. So right now the shader render pass shows me the exact texture that I have is like the lot of like this. But what I want is texture transform. I want a texture transform. This texture transform. This is the texture I want to transform. Actually, we need a sampler. We need to sample it first. So we need a texture sampler to, this is the texture that I want to sample. And this is the, okay. So these are the UVs that I want to modify with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this with the runtime and add this to the original UVs, vector 2, and add it in here and multiply to vector 2. And I just want to make them move into the Y. So I'm going to multiply the X with 0. So right now, if I look at this, this is probably, oh, excuse me, sir. Okay, this is the UVs, and this is the, yeah, this is moving. And again, we're gonna make it to repeat and repeat. So, but it's moving in the opposite direction, so I'm gonna multiply with -1. So now it's moving towards downstairs, downside. And yeah, this is pretty much it. So now I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this as a, like it's a super white, so I'm gonna make it like a power of 2 so that it's a little darker than this. And now it's gonna be darker a bit. Yeah, it's a bit darker. If you increase the power, it's gonna be darker and darker. So but I'm gonna like just use this like this. Now we have created some sort of height in the map, like it's this some sort of black and white. So this is some sort of height map that we're creating. Now we're going to use our patch height to normal. This is my height map. And this is what's going to give me the texture of the normal. I need my resolution. So if my resolution, where's my, oh, we didn't use that resolution in this project. So I'm going to bring it here, screen size in here, screen scale in here. And this has given us some sort of details. If you see, this has given us, okay, this has given us some sort of details, but these details are like too much. So I'm going to multiply it by 0.1. Now, not a great result that we're getting from it. So I think this was even better. So this is the main idea. Like basically, we create some sort of noise and we pass that as a height map to this patch, and then that creates normal. So that's gonna give us like sort of details. Oh yeah, all we were missing was the shader and the pass in the middle. So if now we go, it's gonna be much better. Yeah. So now we see that some sort of details are like going from that. So I'm gonna just make it like 5, 10. Yeah, this is not exactly what we wanted, but this is the main path to go around it. If you want to use the details, but if not, then probably also we can use an emission here. So HeartMath has an emission as well. So if we use this emission to directly like this, then also it gives us some sort of like details on the surface. Maybe not too much. It's too bright. 25. And then I don't need this. Then you can see that there's the emission, there's some sort of emission in there. And I can change the scale of this guy, like I can use a texture transfer now before giving it to there, and I can use a 2D transform pack again to make it like a bigger texture. Like right now it's very small. So I can make like 10 and 10. And I can also, yeah, this like, you can keep going, you can keep improving your effects the way you want. So right now, this was the, yeah, this is how you can create a glow. I'm gonna put this project also into the same folder that we have, so that you can go through these little methods. I'm gonna do this right away, so forget. Well, any more questions? Anything? I think we've crossed the time. This delay frame can be used for long exposure. Yeah, it can be. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad if you're learning this. I hope you can use it for your projects and get some price, get some confidence, bring it home. So I'm going to use this to this. All right. Yeah, we're done. Hey, Varun, over to you.
I hope I'm audible now. Yeah, so
Yeah.
guys, I have shared the attendance form in the chat section. You all can just go and fill out your attendance. And thank you very much, sir, for taking out your time for the community folks. And it was really wonderful session where you gave an additional insights about all those things in the last half an hour. And of course, your journey was mesmerizing and really inspiring for all the ones who are sitting here and listening to them. I'm very sure that it's going to boost their mindset to become AR creators in the future, because right now many of them must be very much confused about whether to go into the SD role or what should we do, how much scope do this AR field is there. So you made them aware well. So I'm really thankful to you. I was listening and it was really very nice experience, so I personally thank you for that. So without any
Thanks, Varun.
delay, now let's wrap up with the session. And for all the guys, today is the last date for the assignment submission, assignment 2 of your AR. So you guys can please submit it. And for any other doubts, you can keep practicing. And Naveen sir's ID has also been shared. Let me share it again with you. You can connect with him on his mail ID, and stay tuned for the next session where you can live interact with the mentor and just ask your queries. So as of now, let's take the leave for today, and we'll catch up with you on the next session. So thank you everyone for being such a lovely and patient audience, and of course, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Varun. Thank you so much. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.